Replit has changed the game forever. Today, Replit dropped Agent 3, which is their new autonomous agent that can not only run for over 200 minutes, which is completely unheard of in this vibe code AI assisted building world, but it can also test your code when you're building the app. So while it's running and while it's building, it'll actually proactively do different kinds of testing, which is the biggest gap when it comes to AI assisted coding right now. And so in this video, I want to actually trial out the Agent 3 and actually build something on screen from scratch. And so if that sounds interesting to you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and let's get right into this. And so to provide more context around Replit 3, around Replit Agent 3, I did some research today and I've been watching their videos. Their head of developer relations, Matt Palmer, did a live video a little bit earlier with their head of community, testing out the Agent 3 and explaining some of the different things that it can do. It's definitely something worth checking out if you get the time to. But in this space of AI assisted coding, the major pain point really has become testing. A lot of people are able to get 80%, 90% of the way there for their products, their MVPs. They're able to get a prototype out, you're able to get it to MVP, usually with some level of frustration, and you find strategies and ways of getting to production. However, that area is still sort of shaky, once you've built out the majority of the first version of your app. But by adding testing to the mix, and it being autonomous, it takes this to a whole nother level. Earlier this week, it might have been last week, I think, or the weekend, I can't remember now, but I tested out Minimax, which is the Chinese company. Minimax came out with the Minimax agent, and honestly, it's sort of similar in concept to what just came out with Replit, in that in one prompt or a few prompts, it can build out a whole app, and it also does the end-to-end testing as well. And I had some problems actually getting it functional. Even with the testing, there were typically still issues when I was tasking it to build something that was more than a very simple kind of app. And so with Replit Agent 3, from what I've seen, it is pretty impressive. And if I go on to this thread here and look to see some of the things that they talk about, the automated testing, of course, the longer runs, 200 plus minutes. But what they've also added in addition to those new features is automation, like literal automation. It can now create almost like what you would see in a make.com or an N8N, to where if you want to create an email automation, if you want to create an automation connected to your Slack channel or your Telegram channel, you can now do so. And then that also means, as a result, you can naturally connect these automations to interfaces or a vibe coded app. And so that'll also be very interesting to test out and see the use cases that are practical. What I'm really on when it comes to vibe coding and this space is practicality and what can be done right now. The Replit Agent 3 gives a glimpse into the future that we're going into. 12 months from now, 18 months from now, this will be regular across the board. But how much can it do right now? And that's really what I want to tackle today. So about let's see, September 8th. In fact, that was just 2 days ago. The way time moves. 11 Labs came out with something called the podcast generator starter kit. They have these different starter kits. One is a music starter where you can do text to music. One is an agent starter where you can create conversational AI chatbots, and there are other kinds of agents, probably voice agents. What I want to do is I want to use this podcast generator template. I've opened it up here in V0. You basically type in a topic, and then it'll give you, you can choose a number of speakers, and then it'll generate the transcript and then process to actually create the podcast of a multi-speaker podcast, which currently it's very straightforward to create AI generated conversations when there's one person, but when it's multiple people, really Notebook LM is the standard way that one would go about doing it in a still straightforward way. I'm curious to know whether if I take this template, if something that Replit, this new Replit agent, would be able to produce. I don't want this exact podcast generator. What I would like is an ability to actually put in the transcript myself, and then to create a multi-speaker podcast from that. So what I'm going to do is I have it opened up here, and then what it needs is the API key for 11 Labs, the API key for OpenAI, and then it runs with Superbase on the back end. We may not need the back end, but we'll see. I think what is also interesting and prolific about Replit now is that they have their own database that you can use. They also have Replit domains. They have design systems that you can incorporate. So Replit has really created an environment and an infrastructure to be able to not just build with AI and build apps with AI, but to also maintain and grow. And it's an all-in-one sort of hub, if you will. I'm going to be honest. When I started vibe coding, Replit was my starting point. Right in the early days of this space, what we would do is, I'd go on to specifically Claude. When Claude Sonnet 3.5 launched, I would prompt for different designs there. And then because you weren't able to actually deploy any of the, because you actually weren't able to deploy a project or even fully build out a project, this is before Claude Code. This is before even Claude had their artifacts feature, where you can have these mini projects on the platform. What you would have to do is you would copy the code from Claude, and then you would paste it into Replit. And this was before Replit even had any AI features. But from there, you were able to actually build apps. And I built some web apps, in the last year with that method. And but Replit over time actually became cost prohibitive. It was more inexpensive to use Cursor and use some of these other platforms that I became very comfortable with. But today, with Agent 3, it has definitely motivated me to kind of see what Replit is cooking up right now, and how that may or may not impact my current vibe coding setup. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm downloading the podcast generator template, and then I'm going to go into Replit here, introducing Agent 3. Click Learn More, show you kind of this super nice presentation here of the Agent 3. I mean, over 200 minutes is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. And start building for free. So the thing about it, and they have these different modes, right? So if I click on agents and automations here, they already kind of have some prefigured example: Slack message, Telegram message. You can make it time based, right? And then you also have it where you can make it event based. That's not a current option. And so I'm going to go agents and automations. I'm going to say time based, and then I'm going to say I'd like to build a multi-speaker AI generated podcast web app. I want to be able to paste in a transcript from an article, and then from the article transcript, it should generate podcast of two hosts, one male and one woman, talking back and forth, discussing the article topic and the person or idea the article is about, and then generate an audio podcast of two hosts. And so basically what I'm looking to do is, if you are familiar with with Notebook LM, you can create these audio podcasts by uploading a transcript or article or just knowledge sources. And so I want to basically replicate something similar that's multi-speaker as well. And so if I just start this chat right here and not even including the snippet yet, and then I should now get prompted with what I want the next steps should the next steps to be. They're calling it podcast pilot, which is cool. And there may be an opportunity to then put the V0 template in. Let's see what it says here first. I understand you want to build a multi-speaker AI generated podcast web app that converts article transcripts into audio podcasts with two hosts discussing the content. Let me search for relevant integrations to help with text-to-speech and AI capabilities. Search Replit's integrations. Since you specified the agent stack with the time-based trigger, I need to clarify a few details to create the most useful automation for you. How often would you like this automation to run? Where would you like to paste or provide the article transcripts? How would you like to receive the generated podcast audio? These details will help me create a comprehensive plan for. Okay, so to answer these questions, and I'm gonna use voice for this. So I would like the automation to. I'm going to manually trigger this. This is going to be a web app, so. We don't need authentication for this version, but basically I should be able to drag, or I'm sorry, I should be able to type in or paste in the transcript from the article, or just paste in the content of the article, and then the podcast that gets triggered, I should be able to manually trigger it, and in fact, if we could even take it a step further, if I could just paste in information, just like it could be multiple. Well, you know what? No, let's just start it with the article. The article. Where would you like to paste or provide the article transcripts? So this is going to be through the app. There should be some sort of either a place I can drag and drop the actual document. Would be a docx, so a document like a Word doc, or I could just type in or paste in the actual writing itself. And this is on the web app, so not through form submission or email, like the web app itself. And how would I like to receive the generated podcast audio? So then it should show a loading sign and show that it's processing. And then it should bring back that audio file on the web app. And then I should then be able to play it on the app. And if I decide to download the file as an MP3 file, or M4A, whichever is easier to then use for my own means. And it should be, that final product will be two people speaking, back and forth. All right, so we're gonna paste this in here. All right, so we're just gonna enter this in here, and hold on. You know what? Let me stop this real quick. Because I have the podcast generator, but you know what? I'm actually gonna go without it, and let's just see what Replit can do on its own first, and then we'll kind of approach it that way. We want a web-based application where you can manually input article content and generate AI podcasts on demand based on your requirements. Sounds more like a traditional web application rather than an agent automation workflow. Oh, interesting. So agent automation is specifically for workflows. Let me create a plan using the full stack JavaScript stack, which will be better suited for building an interactive app with uploads, text input, and audio playback capabilities. So app type, modern web app, integration, app storage, OpenAI, a web application that converts article transcripts into AI-generated two-speaker podcast conversations with audio playback and download. I'll include the following features: text input area for pasting article content or transcript, file upload functionality, AI script generation, text-to-speech conversion to generate audio player for immediate playback, download functionality, loading indicators, and processing clean intuitive interface. So this sounds good. I've created a feature list. If everything looks good, we can start creating. How do you want to continue? So they have two options here, right? You can build the entire app, or you can start with a design. Best if you want to see a design prototype first, then iterate on visuals or features. So I'm going to just go ahead and have it build the entire app. This is definitely obviously a suite I'm going to want to spend a lot of time with. So the design side, Replit now has design themes where you can sort of like choose like a design system that it will use that has different sort of aesthetics and feels to it. So now you're able to kind of enhance the visual of using Replit. But I'm going to go ahead and click build the entire app and see what it's able to do, on its own first. I see the disclaimer here: agents and automations are currently in beta. So it sounds like Agent 3 is, but it says this is more like a traditional web app rather than an agent automation workflow. But it's saying your automation will be ready soon. Automation testing environment, which is interesting. So then it makes me wonder, is this not for building the apps, or do I, should I be in a different sort of settings here on Replit? But we'll see. We'll see what it does. It says currently generating design guidelines currently. So I guess agent and automation is specifically for I guess building agents and automations, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. But if I look on my phone, so I see on my phone right here, something just came up where it's Replit is able to connect with your phone. And so on my phone, I'm seeing it actually be built out here. So it's synced with my phone because this is being built in the cloud. So it's all kind of connected with each other, which is cool. All right, so starting to work through this created shared schema. So now it's creating files. But I think they definitely should, because from the commentary around Agent 3, AI agents can prototype apps, but shipping real software takes time. Agent 3 is more autonomous. So it should be clear here that you can build apps, with this Agent 3. Because it was almost like leading me to believe that I can't build apps with it, or that's not what its purpose is for. That's purpose is for building automations or maybe agentic workflows. This is cool so far. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this run, and then we will come back and finish this up. This is the settings where we're literally letting the whole letting Replit build out the whole app. And again, it could run for up to 200 minutes, which is just wild to me. But that's because of all the testing that it does. This is crazy. I'm not gonna lie, man. This is crazy. It actually worked. Both of them do. Both of them work. I mean, just the fact that it's generating it's actually it's actually working. Like it actually generated a script, and you actually hear the podcast. If I actually download the MP3 file, and it can do an M4A file, and can I play it on my computer?
Picture this.
That's
a 100th
crazy.
birthday party for Miss Inez
crazy.
Hearn.
I wasn't able to do that with anything else. So these are all the same, right? If I wanted to edit script, all right. So this edit script button isn't working, which is fine. That can be adjusted. Like other adjustments can be made. Like the other adjustments are, if I was able to generate the podcast at the end, the other adjustments can happen, right? And this is something that I wasn't able to do with Minimax, and this sets Replit apart for sure. All right, so I'm sharing my tab just so the audio works for this, and because I just want y'all to hear how this actually comes out.
Strong schools, accessible healthcare, and elections people can actually navigate are the spine of her agenda. How does she connect those dots in practice?
She roots it in what she saw as a public defender. Case after case, clients told her they left school early or...
That is crazy. So it works. There are some issues I am seeing here. For example, when you click on the generate podcast button, it doesn't react visually. So it's hard to know that it was actually working. The edit script button isn't working. Like I'm not actually able to edit the script. But the download MP3, download M4A works. This over here, I'm not sure necessarily whether this was working or not. If I click on, so this is the 754 one.
Picture this.
Or 713. That's weird. Yeah, so when you click on these, it's hard to tell what's working and not working. But the audio did generate at the end, which is a win for sure. And so what I will say with this is lessons learned. So first of all, my video stopped recording at some point. So basically I came back, the app was complete. However, I had to input API keys, my OpenAI API key and 11 Labs API key. And then once I did that, it was able to do the testing and the building on its own. It installed required packages, but it wasn't working. Like it wasn't actually, the outcome wasn't audio. And so then it would keep, going back and revising. And ultimately it was able to actually generate the audio. As I mentioned, there are some adjustments that need to be made, specifically with the functionality. But the fact that I was able to generate a podcast at the end, I'm extremely impressed by. And it's a multi-person podcast. This is something that I haven't been able to do with any other agentic sort of app process. So yeah, I paid for a month of Replit, and so Replit will be getting my coins. And yeah, I mean, I like how they have it presented here, and man, this is exciting. This is really exciting that this worked. I'm going to stop this right here. What is pretty cool is that the way Replit has their user experience now, I mean, you can remix the app, you can view the live app, which is what I did. And then they have it just organized in a really nice kind of chic, way here. But one hard lesson was also when you are creating an app. So if I go here to create an app, for example, you want to not use agents and automations unless you're actually building out an automation or an agent or an agentic workflow. You want to use web app if you're going to create a web app. And so I'm not sure if that automatically uses Agent 3 or not, but that was also like a lesson because it didn't run within the agents and automations. I had to open it up from from the cover page. So yeah, this is Replit 3 end-to-end app development with testing. I'm looking forward to them continuing to upgrade this and take this into the next level. Replit also raised a round today. I think they announced like a $250 million round or something like that today. Let me look that up. Yep, Replit has raised $250 million and a funding round at $3 billion. So triples their valuation. So more to come. A lot more to come. I will definitely continue to edit and do something with. And yeah,